everyone, it's Nicki and welcome back to Ask an Author. Now today I have found another of these tags via AuthorTube that I thought looked interesting, some fun questions to answer, maybe give you a bit more insight into my writing. So to kick us off, this is the writing habits tag and we've got 12 questions to get through, so let's make a start. Number 1, typed or handwritten? For me, both. I used to mostly do typed. I used to type straight into Word. The only time I'd really do anything by hand was editing, when I would print it off at least the first couple of edits, the rest I'd do online. However, I work online an awful amount of time during the day. I do editing work, that's all online, social media, other things like MOOCs. I'm online the bulk of the day, and I found that my wrist was starting to get really sore from so much mouse use and so much typing. So I do mix it up now, and I do tend to write the first draft of my stories handwritten, and then I just go and knock them out, type them up later, which just quickly typing up from a written sheet is a lot quicker than when I was moving around within the document, doing it from scratch. So it's a lot less pressure on my wrist, which has been much better. I got one of those, I don't know if you've seen them, the ergonomic mouses, or mice. Yeah. Yes, I should get my plurals right, shouldn't I? Ergonomic mouses, where you hold it at the side, so it's a more natural position than this. And between that and trying to break down my computer time by doing a bit handwritten and some other things during the day, I don't really have any trouble anymore, which is good. So yes, a bit of both. Start off handwritten and then typed. 2, cursive or printed? If we're talking about my handwriting, it's more cursive, I guess. I'm not entirely sure what they mean by that question, because surely typed is printed, but I guess they are talking about handwriting, in which case I'd say mostly cursive. I mean, I learnt cursive handwriting at school. These days I've got my own sort of style, which is kind of probably about 80% cursive or 90% cursive, with the odd printed letter where I don't join them completely. It's one of the things I want to improve. My handwriting's not bad. It's very legible. It's quite neat, but when I'm not scribbling, I do scribble a bit when I'm writing my drafts. But I do want to improve. I was learning some Spencerian and that the other day, and I want to get some nicer hand lettering going on. Show us your favourite pen. I don't have one. Honestly, I don't. I work with whatever's around. I mean, I have a fountain pen that I use periodically. It's only a cheap Parker one, it's not like a really fancy one. Otherwise, I just use whatever pen. I mean, for my bullet journal, I've got one of those Sharpie fine pens, which I really like for the bullet journal. I just got a standard ballpoint pen for scribbling the first draft of this story I'm writing at the moment. Once that runs out, I'll just buy another one. I don't have a favourite brand in particular for that. I just get whatever I see, like at a decent price that it's going to work. I don't have one pen that I come back to again and again. 4, where do you like to write? Here. If we're talking about that first handwritten draft, I sit here. Not in this particular chair. I have another chair that matches this one, just out of camera view here. It's a little bit closer to the window. That's where I tend to sit to write my first draft. I have a view of my bookshelves behind me, my piano. And then when I'm at the typing up stage, I go into my study. Number 5, who are your 5 favourite authors in terms of authorial style? Okay, let's get the hand ready. Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough. I mention her a lot in these videos. She writes the Saint-Germain historical vampire series. I really love her style. She has a really great blend. I love the way she uses letters in between chapters to tell us bits of the story that the character isn't involved in personally. Really great. 2, Halldór Laxness, the Icelandic author. He has a really fantastic style because he manages to make his stories both full of pathos, but also he has this really wonderful wry sense of humour. So it's like you kind of feel for the characters and there's an emotional connection, but there's all this sort of joking going on in the background as well. Number 3, Milan Kundera. He's one of those writers, like the next one I'm going to mention too, who is really amazing when it comes to portraying emotion. So often I read his books and I think I really understand the characters. I think, oh, I felt that myself. And his language for expressing those things is brilliant. The same is true for Haruki Murakami, number 4. Again, it's very similar to Milan Kundera, how I feel about Haruki Murakami. He's just got this wonderful way of presenting characters and their emotions that you really connect with as a reader. And finally, who should I give my final spot to? I think Jane Austen. I mean, that's very much a toss-up spot, that one, and that's just the first name that came to my head. But I do really enjoy the sort of sense of humour in her writing style as well. Number 6, what are your 3 favourite books on writing? Okay, I mean, Stephen King's on writing is brilliant. It just in terms of getting an author perspective on the craft. He has some really great advice, some really great points, and it's a very easy, light read. Just glancing at my shelf behind us here. I mean, there's this self-editing for writers, for self-editing for fiction writers. I should have looked at these questions in advance. I mean, I'm just doing them completely off the cuff, and otherwise I could have got these books off the shelf to like demonstrate a bit better. But I have done other videos in which I talk about these books, so I will note them below for you. Self-editing for fiction writers. I think it's Brown and King. I can't see from here, but that's the authors coming into my head. I'll correct that if it's wrong. That's a great book. As the title would suggest, it looks at how you'd self-edit your work, and it's got some really great points, great ideas, things to consider. And finally, I think probably Robert McKee's Story, which is really aimed at screenwriters, but it is very useful for literary fiction writers as well, because it talks about beats and things within scenes, which, although it is more screenwriting skewed, it is still something that is worth thinking about as you're planning chapters. So, 7, have you ever competed in NaNoWriMo? No, I haven't. And the reason for that is it's too restrictive for me. If I didn't make that word count, I would be absolutely like distraught, because if I plan to do something, I like to do it and I like to complete it. And I'm the sort of person that doesn't manage well if I don't reach goals. So I don't do it. However, depending on my other workload, what's going on, it is possible for me to do a big slog during a month. I mean, on average, I'd say I'm probably looking more at 25 than 50 in an average month. But there are times when I have written 50k a month. I mean, when I was writing the Ragnarok Chronicles, that was flowing so like speedily from my pen that I think I did manage sort of 40-50k a month when I was writing that. But I've never really joined up for NaNoWriMo to do it, which kind of answers number 8. Have you ever won NaNoWriMo? No, because I've never done it. Number 9, have you ever had anything published? Well, yes. Go to my website. I've had quite a few books published, everything from short stories to novels, under both my pen names, so I mean, the simple answer to that is yes. 10, what projects are you working on now? I've got various contracted works that we're in the middle of edits for that are coming out either later this year or during 2018. And at the moment I'm working on the first draft of a new novel, paranormal piece. So I'm about 15,000 words into that so far, and I think it'll be around a 60,000 to 70,000 word piece, I'm hoping, by the end. So pushing towards the sort of quarter stage on that. 11, what is your soundtrack to writing? Nothing. I'm a huge music fan, as you'll know if you've watched some of my other videos. I sing, play instruments, love music, love the theatre, but when I'm writing I prefer absolute silence. I find music too distracting. Maybe I could cope with a bit of classical instrumental, but anything with a lyric is too distracting because I will stop and sing along and then I won't get any work done and I'll just be singing instead of writing. So my soundtrack is as little noise as possible. And finally, 12, do I have a writing pump-up song? Really the same answer, no, because I prefer silence when I'm writing. I like to just be completely alone with my thoughts and the story and not have any distractions. So that brings us to the end of this writing habits tag. I hope you found it fun. I have got a couple more tags to film and I'll share them with you in the coming months as well. But for now, I will close. Bye for now.